Healthcare reform following yesterday's Supreme Court ruling. Here now with more is Representative Jeb Hensarling. He's chairman of the House Republican Conference. Good morning, Congressman. Good morning. Welcome to Squawk. It's good to see you again. The Majority Leader, Eric Cantor, yesterday already saying there's going to be a vote in the House, July 11th, the date that is set. Why hold a vote that you know has no chance of repealing health care reform now?
I think, frankly, we'd be negligent if we didn't hold one. This is what's on the consciousness of the American people. It's clearly an issue that the American people care about. The Supreme Court was heard yesterday, and the People's House will be heard the second week of July. And, frankly, the people themselves who are sovereign will be heard in the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. I mean, the Supreme Court, at least 5 justices, they may have the last word on constitutionality. But, again, this now goes back into the legislative realm. People still care deeply about how their health care is going to be delivered. And frankly, a majority of the American people do not want a system that they believe is unaffordable, that's going to hurt job growth and is going to interfere with the patient-doctor relationship. We'd be negligent if we didn't hold the vote.
Congressman, there has been a view that there has been too much uncertainty around all of this health care issues, and we've had CEO after CEO come say, this whole issue has created a huge cloud over the markets, the economy, everything. And my question to you is, by going back and trying to re-legislate this in your own way, are you ultimately creating a new round of uncertainty?
Well, you know, the proponents of this, frankly, have been working on it for 2 decades. Did they create uncertainty by trying to put forth a government-run health care plan? Listen, this is hurting jobs and the economy. You know, the Chamber of Commerce recently did a survey of small business people. 3/4 of them said that the president's health care program is preventing them from hiring people. The Congressional Budget Office, it says, run by a Democrat, I might add, they estimate this will cost close to 1 million jobs. Private economists, 1 to 2 million jobs. You know, I talk to small business people in the 5th Congressional District of Texas that I represent every day. They think this is a huge impediment to jobs. And so, you know, quite the opposite. Removing the president's health care plan would be good for the economy. It'd be good for jobs. And that's what the American people care about.
Members of your party are calling this already, and it certainly seems to have circulated, that being a talking point yesterday, that this is a tax increase. What would you call what Mitt Romney did in Massachusetts? He, of course, running for president as a member of your party.
Well, I'll let him run for president. I mean, the Supreme Court has called this a tax increase.
No, I understand that, but my question to you respectfully, sir, is what would you call what Governor Romney's plan was in Massachusetts? Was that a tax as well? Was it a tax?
I don't know the answer to the question because I haven't studied what he did in Massachusetts. I mean, right now I'm concerned as a member of the United States Congress in trying to deal with a law that, number 1, we can't afford, number 2, is harming job growth, and number 3 is getting in the way of the patient-doctor relationship. What I do know is that President Obama said he'd never raise taxes on anybody making less than $250,000. And now the Supreme Court says what he's done is a tax which is clearly going to fall on people who are making less than $250,000.
So there are many issues, obviously, on the table facing the country right now, right? The economy is slowing. We've got the debt ceiling issue, the fiscal cliff heading towards that now. Yet, do you worry that your party is at risk of taking your eye off of the ball on more substantive issues? While at the same time, you guys are holding the contempt of Congress vote with the Attorney General. You're going to revisit the health care vote, even though you know that the outcome is going to have no bearing on what ultimately happens with this law. Shouldn't you guys be trying to get into a room and figure out how to solve the fiscal cliff instead?
Well, part of the so-called fiscal cliff has a lot to do with what this economy is going to do. Again, you talk to any small business person, whenever I'm talking to small business people, Fortune 50 CEOs, they cite the #1 impediment to job growth, frankly, to be government red tape, and at the top of the list is the president's health care program. Again, part of the so-called fiscal cliff has everything to do with economic growth, bringing in more tax revenues to a better business environment. And so the health care vote is part and parcel to that. With respect to the Attorney General, we held up our hands to uphold the Constitution the best way we know how. Brian Terry, an American citizen who wanted to serve his country, is dead because of a program gone awry at the Justice Department.
Sir?
His family deserves not part of the truth, but they deserve the whole truth.
Sir, Kelly King, the CEO of BB&T Bank, is our guest host today, and he has a question for you.
So,
Sure.
Congressman, talking to a lot of business people, I would have to agree with you. Their number one concern is uncertainty, and at the top of the list is health care, so I think you're 100% right on there. But I think a bigger issue here, and I'm wondering if you're willing to focus on this, is that, the Supreme Court is now saying, well, this is constitutional because it's a tax and we're not really trying to mandate behavior. This is a really big slippery slope in my mind, because we could say it's a tax versus a mandate. But the next step is to say, okay, well, you have to have life insurance or we'll tax you. You can't have but one child or we'll tax you. I mean, this is a terribly deep, slippery slope.
Well, I don't disagree. I've read a fair amount of the opinion, and my guess is it may take weeks for legal scholars to sort this out. But I kind of feel like, like my 8-year-old handed in his test to his teacher. He got 4 problems wrong, but the teacher said, you know what, you got them wrong, but I changed them for you. Here's your 100. And so the Supreme Court seemingly said that, yes, it is a slippery slope under the Interstate Commerce Clause. You can't fine a person, but you can, quote unquote, tax them. So we're going to take your unconstitutional law and make it constitutional. So now, I suppose, if we don't eat broccoli on Tuesdays, we can be taxed. If we don't join a health club, we can be taxed. It strikes me on the surface to be a rather frightening decision. Again, I have to respect what the Supreme Court said, but I respectfully and vehemently disagree with their conclusion, and I think it's fraught with peril.
But Congressman, I'm sorry, you do respect the court's decision, but
I have to. I mean, they are the Supreme Court. They have the final word, at least 5 of them, for constitutionality. But ultimately, the people are sovereign, and the people will have their voice heard. I mean, just because something is constitutional.
The Supreme Court sent it back to Congress. If you guys want to do anything, they say you guys step in and do it.
Well, thank you that we're stepping in and doing it. But another important point is just because something is constitutional doesn't mean it's wise.
Right.
The national debt is constitutional. Trillions of dollars of national debt is not wise.
Congressman Hensarling, thanks so much for spending some time with us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, the world according to Google, the company making waves this week with its new